met, Dr. Kathy Bush.
And hi, I'm Dr. Tara Peters.
And we're the Leadership Doctors. Today, we're excited to have a guest with us, a good friend, Antulio Borneo, who's had a great career in the chemical and petrochemical industry as a leader with people who work all around the world. And so we're excited to have Antulio share with you his experiences as a global leader, recently retired and still, I think, very connected to many people that he worked with. So we're going to ask him a few questions as it relates to leadership in this current time that is challenging for all of us related to the COVID-19 pandemic, but also some questions more broadly that you can use as you think about how you develop yourself as a leader and what it's like to lead in a global environment. So welcome, Antulio.
Hello, Kathy. Tara, I'm very happy to be here and very glad to be connected.
So thank you for joining us. Just as we get started, Antulio, if you could give us a little bit of a sense of your journey, what kind of leadership roles that you've taken along the way, and where you had most recently been working as a global marketing director.
Well, I think I kind of started a little early on the curve on that, and was back in Brazil when I got a large group of technical sellers in the chemical industry, and I was, I think, mid-20s, and I was a little bit accelerating the career, and then I had this group with a lot of people with a lot of experience, and I was concerned that I'll be able to do the right thing, but it worked well. It was a very good learning. The group was very embracing. And then, as we evolve with time, we have some of those big organizations, you have a lot of roles that you don't have direct reports, but there is a lot of functional reporting across the globe. So your leadership has changed, style has changed a little bit, the way you communicate with people. And then you have groups of people working in different disciplines, different technologies. Sometimes you are a leader of people that know much more about the subject than you, and how you operate in this environment working well and properly. So it has been a long journey in several cultural environments, and interesting how you have to adapt the way we relate with people because of the different cultural, difference between people.
Now, I know a couple of the different places that you've worked. When we met, you were working at the Dow Chemical Company. And so I know that you've had a few other jobs within the chemical and petrochemical industry. Can you give us just a little bit of a sense of what kind of work you were involved in, and as a leader, what kind of work the people on your team were doing?
Yeah, so my first leadership work at Dow, with leading a group, was a sales management. In my last job at Dow, I was responsible for a business. I have the role of general manager of a small business at Dow, and this was across the globe. We have a plant in Texas, a JV in Korea, and business all over the place. So it was interesting, a lot of internal and external interactions to make this happen. Very complex moment, economic turmoil. The business was had to be fixed in order to, in the middle of a strategic change. And this was an interesting experience. And then I moved to, when I changed to EMI Global, and then Equate, which was a subsidiary of the Dow Chemical Company, the environment changed a little bit. So the company was based, the headquarters was based in the Middle East, and also was a very interesting perspective how to operate. It's business in the end of the day, but how you make this happen, how you interact with people, changes a little bit. So this was a really interesting learning. But I'll tell you, I grew up in a city, São Paulo. It's a big city. The Great São Paulo has 20 million inhabitants. So the city of São Paulo, 13, the Great São Paulo is 20, 22 maybe today. But Brazil is like the US, a lot of immigration from all over the place. And I didn't realize how diverse was that environment because of, the different nationalities all bundled together. We don't think about much. We knew someone was Japanese descendant, someone was, Italian or whatever, but this was a good preparation for the future because we knew the different styles, naturally, how people function, how people understand you. Helps a lot with the communication.
So, in just listening to you talk about really the diversity that you found in your own experiences there in Brazil and your work there, and obviously your work with Dow as well, I think it's really a great perspective because as we kind of think about the pandemic, and certainly that's a part of our conversation today, it's certainly global in scope. As of our time today, we've got roughly 1.5 million people across the globe that have been impacted by the coronavirus. Certainly, it has implications here in the US and obviously more broadly. And so we're interested to know, given conversations or interactions or even your own observations, what do you see as the impact of COVID-19 in terms of how teams are operating, the work that's actually happening? And so what are your insights, again, from conversations you've had, observations, relative to what you've been seeing and noticing?
So one theme across all the activity, well, I'm somewhat still connected with the business. I had some projects going on before this whole things happened. Obviously, things slowed down, but you have some connections. People still call me for some subjects, and it's funny. A group of ex-colleagues. We have a kind of a group, like happy hour group. Just get together and exchange messages just to keep the morale high, but then to exchange expression. I think there's this need of people to stay connected. I think this time is to stay connected and to share experiences. What I'm seeing is that there's overall, I wouldn't say optimism, but it's a way to keep the high moral, right? To go through it. We don't know when it's going to end. We have no idea how this thing started this way, but we don't know how it's going to end. And just to go through in the better high notes of moral that possible. But what I can see overall is communication. So a friend of mine is in Brazil, is the owner of a pharmaceutical company. He has people sent home, people that is not actually had a job, they have to be present. And so they're working in some of active principles, but they're still at home and say, have to talk with people and be sure that, everybody's connected, is focused, they have what they want. And you're seeing, it's very similar what I'm seeing around here.
It's really cool to talk to folks who have the outreach of people from so many places around the world. I think, I've been involved in work that is global and have friends all around the world. But as far as this pandemic goes, I'm not aware in my lifetime of anything that's so equally affected everybody from no matter where you are around the world. And so we have this huge community, this shared experience, don't we? It's in some ways reassuring as a single group of people when you think about mankind worldwide. But of course, it's also a terrible thing that's going on that we're all experiencing together. So, all right. So, Antulio, as you think about the leadership journey you had, we're really interested in, some of the folks that may be tuning in and watching this will be early in their leadership careers. And so maybe developing their sense of values and principles that they want to follow and to develop as leaders. So what are some of the major principles that you, maybe you never even wrote them down, but just as you reflect, that you used as a leader, as a global leader, as a leader of various people? What are some of the major principles you can share with our viewers about leading people?
Interesting, Kathy, because for me, and you're the doctor as a subject, for me, it's just a practitioner, right? And it's trying to understand. For me, it was more a matter of style, kind of natural ways, natural styles. Not saying it's good or bad, it's just the style we interact with people. We take these roles. And then with time, there's big corporations, a lot of training, you go to those even leadership labs, right? They test your style, how effective you are, and things like that. And then you start noticing a pattern. So first of all, I was not aware. I was unaware of this style. But then with more study, conversation, and feedback, for me, the style that, make me through it was, first of all, listen and analyze, communicate, and lead to a certain goal. It's funny, it's not a matter of my option. And I remember one person talked to me, no matter what, if you would like to be different, it does not matter. It's how you operate. Effectively, we don't know the reasons you got there, but this is very constant, very obvious in this style. And this is for me. So it's not going to, oh, let's do this and this and this, let's go this the way. It's like, listen to the situation, analyze, be able to communicate back, and help people to go to a certain place that everybody wants to be. It does not matter if you have a formal relationship, was a natural leadership in an organization, in a role, in a team, in a nonprofit, whatever. And this what I noticed for me.
So I know, Antulio, as you were talking earlier and you were sharing with us your leadership journey, it's obvious that there was some level of progression. So there was some growing, there was some learning, there was some developing that was taking place. And so as Kathy was sharing, I mean, we've got people who are in various stages of their career path. And so we know that they could benefit from your perspective in terms of what are the things that you did to invest in yourself, to develop yourself that helped you along the way in terms of your journey, and what parts of that do you think would be helpful to our audience as they think about their own developmental journey?
Well, I think the need for learning and develop, it shows up when you start facing difficulties and you believe is that something wrong, and how operate with the team with a certain, it's never with the team, but with elements, right? When you interact with your, let's say in a business environment, your direct reports, and then you start going through a lot of reading, looking for specific trainings. A lot of universities, they have those 1-2 weeks. Obviously, when you do executive development course, they have those, and paying a lot of attention and questioning. And it's funny, something you think is very effective, sometimes it's not. You're unaware how ineffective that is. Something you just take it for granted. This was the key, to help people to move along a certain common objective. So again, it's a lot of, it took me a lot of reading, studying, and reflection. And again, it's like playing tennis, right? Let's take an example. Everybody knows the movements, how to do it, but you have to practice, right? You have to get the ball, get the racket, and throw to the wall. The wall is going to bounce somewhere else till you get to do this right. I think matter of leadership is the same thing.
That's great insight, Antulio. So as we think about as we're wrapping up here, and we appreciate you offered some insight on our inspirational video clip that has been aired already. And so as we wrap up, I'm wondering if you can offer any particular insights or advice to people who are right now leading a team that's going through a whole lot of stress. And you and I both know lots of people who are worried and frustrated, or maybe having to furlough people or other things that are really hard to do. So any particular insight or inspiration, encouragement you'd like to offer to leaders who may be managing in a really stressful situation right now?
What worked for me in situations like that, as I said, growing up in South America, we have all the opportunities to be in stressful situations, right? Pass every time there's something different, people look at each other, now what we do now. And this is really, really complicated. We have opportunities here, but I remember when I mentioned to you my last position at Dow, and we have a very complicated environment. And then the things I mentioned in that video, like the authenticity You have to be transparent, no matter who you are. Again, if you're something that has a certain behavior and try to change just to engage people in a certain way, no, be really authentic, be close, be present is the second one. Again, we have tools today to be present, right? To be connected even from the distance. And we are social animals, despite the fact some like to be more isolated or not. We are social animals. We depend on each other. And what's important is always to have a clear situation where we stand. So being realistic about the present, but optimistic about the future, because in the end, we don't control a lot of things, but what you do to get to a better place is in our hands. So those are a few things that are really, really help me in difficult situations with people.
Well, Antulio, we want to thank you so much for being a part of our Lessons from Leaders interview series. You shared so many great insights that I know is going to be really helpful to our viewing audience. And so we invite those of you who have tuned in today to head to our website, theleadershipdoctors.com. We have more videos from wonderful leaders like today in terms of just sharing with you, encouraging with you, and hopefully helping you to navigate this landscape that we all find ourselves in. So thank you so much for tuning in today.
No, my pleasure to be here. I love to see your smiling faces. I love the work you're doing. So just keep on doing it.